صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى. O you who believe, do not destroy and nullify your sadaqat by boasting about favor and by teasing and taunting. كالذي ينفق ماله رئاء الناس ولا يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. Like the one who spends his wealth to show off before people and does not believe in Allah and the last day. فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ عَلَيْهِ تُرَابٌ فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا. So his example is like a large rock on which there is soil, then there came over it a heavy rain and left it barren. لا يقدرون على شيء مما كسبوا. They have no ability to gain anything out of what they have done and earned. والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين. And Allah does not give guidance to the people who reject and disbelieve. We are reading Surah Baqarah. The verses in connection are about sadaqat, khairat, infaq. In the last verses, Allah gave the example of one who spends in the path of Allah like a grain which you put in the ground and plant comes and there it has 7 ears and in every ear 700 grains. So one grain brought 700 grains. Similarly, your sadaqat, khairat will bring so much sawab. And that's not the limit. Allah will increase for whom He wills. Then Allah said, that is one shart. You should give with ikhlas, sincerity, and you should not follow it up by reminding of the favors you had done to them and by teasing and taunting. The shart is you don't do these things, then you will get that full sawab of 700 times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went on to say, such people will get their full sawab and there will be no fear upon them and they will not be sad and they will not grieve. There's no risk upon them. They will be with peace, aman. Sadaqat, khairat brings lots of peace. And there won't be any grief. Why did I not spend? Why did I fail to spend? Because they will have spent, so they won't be sad. And then Allah said, if you are not able to help someone for some reason, then qawlun ma'roof, saying a kind word and forgiving them is better than giving sadaqah and then following up with abusing, taunting, insulting, teasing. That's no good. If you compare between the two, a person who did not give anything but was gentle and said kind words, another person who gave lots of money but then he kept reminding and taunting, his thawab is gone. The first person is better than the second one. Allah said, Wallahu ghaniyyun halim. Allah is free of need and He is forbearing, tolerant. He sees everything, but still Allah does not punish instantly. He lets people off. After mentioning this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is moving on to that subject matter again in verse number 264, which we read just now. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha. Please don't nullify and destroy your sadaqat by mannu adha. Mannun, reminding of the favors, and adha, abusing, insulting, taunting. Hazrat Maulana Idris, then Allah gave an example. كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَالَهُ رِئَاءَ النَّاسِ. Otherwise, you will be similar to that person who spends his wealth to show off to people. Riyakari, dikhawa. And وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. He does not believe in Allah and in the final day. Allah gave an example of him. فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ. His example is like that of a large rock. أَصَابَهَا وَابِلٌ. On كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ عَلَيْهِ تُرَابٌ. On which there is dust and sand, or no, dust and soil, which looks like earth, and you feel like something is going to grow on it. And you mistakenly plant something on there. Now heavy rain comes, but it doesn't let anything grow. Rather, even that soil which was on there also went away, and your seeds and whatever you planted and everything was destroyed. فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا. And left it in, without any plants on it. وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Allah sees your a'mal. Hazrat Maulana Idris Kanalvi Rahmatullahi Alayhi in Ma'ariful Quran has explained this beautifully. He writes, just as for namaz, salat, there are two sharait. One is shart-e sihat and the other is shart-e baqa. Shart-e sihat, conditions for it to be correct. That is, you should have taharat, wuzu, paki. Otherwise your salah will not be accepted. You have to have this sharat. Body clean, clothes clean, the place where you praying should be clean, not napak. And you should have wuzu, you shouldn't be in need of ghusl. And the other is shart-e baqa. Baqa means to keep it going. You started it with that sharat, but there are some sharait of baqa for it to remain. And that is, for example, during salat, not talking, not drinking, not eating. If you do these, then your salat is void, bekar. The shart-e baqa is not there. Similarly, in sadaqah khairat, there are both types of sharait. Shart-e sihat and shart-e baqa. Shart-e sihat, for that sadaqah to be correct, is ikhlas. Without ikhlas in niyat, sadaqah khairat is not sahih. And shart-e baqa is ijtinabul manni wal aza. Your sadaqah sawab will only remain if you avoid ihsan jatana, reminding and taunting and teasing afterwards. You gave it with ikhlas, but then after a few days or weeks or months, you started taunting that faqir miskin whom you helped. Then that sawab which you had gained has now gone into vain, is nullified, is gone. Because the shart-e baqa is not there. Shart-e sihat was there, but shart-e baqa is not there. So that is why the sawab does not remain. Like in salat, you started with ikhlas and taharat, but then you started talking in namaz, you started eating, drinking, then that shart is not there, so your salat is batil, fasid. Same is the case over here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, a person who gives sadaqah and reminds and taunts later on, his sawab goes away exactly in the same way as the sawab of a riyakar, a show off, also fades away. Because the riyakar and the show off did not have ikhlas. So from the beginning, shart-e sihat was not there. He was not going to get any sawab anyway, because he didn't do it for the sake of Allah. And over here, you were going to get sawab. Your sawab was there, but you yourself destroyed it by mannu aza. This is why Allah is saying, La tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal aza. And then Allah is giving the tashbih and similarity, Kalladhi yunfiqu ma'lahu ri'a an-nas. وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Mura'i and kafir. There is no shart-e baqa, so their sawab is gone. Hazrat goes on to explain that by this, we can answer the shubha and doubt of Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila say that sometimes an amal can destroy and nullify the sawab of a good deed. Allah Pak said in Surah Al-Hujurat, أَن تَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالُكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. Do not raise your voices in the presence of the Prophet. Otherwise, your a'mal will be nullified and become void and wiped out, and you won't even realize. So they say that some ma'asiyat, major sin, na'udhu billah, makes you kafir. So they say when a person commits a major crime, he goes out of the fold of Islam and he will remain in the fire of Jahannam forever. His amal are habt. Habt ho gaye uske amal, bekar ho gaye. Ahlus Sunnat wal Jamaat say that a'mal can only be wiped out by one bad deed, one sin, and that sin is kufr, shirk. If a person becomes kafir, then all his a'mal will be void, nullified, and that person will be in the Jahannam forever. But if a person had done some good deeds, but followed it up with bad deed, then that bad deed will suspend the sawab of that amal. It will only affect that one amal with which that bad deed is connected. It will not result in wiping out all his other a'mal and make him kafir and take him to Jahannam. And that is also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills that to happen. So over here, when they say that with mannu aza, the amal becomes batil, it's not because he did this bad deed of reminding and taunting. It's because we explain that there is one is shart sihat and the other is shart baqa. The shart sihati amal was there, but the shart baqa was not there. And the shart baqa is the condition of it remaining is man avoiding ijtinab of mannu aza. Because he did that, that is why the amal of the sawab of this amal was wiped out. It does not mean that the person becomes kafir, na'uzu billah, and he will go in Jahannam and stay in there forever. This is the wrong meaning which Mu'tazila take. This is Hazrat Maulana Idris Kandalvi Rahmatullahi alayhi explained in Ma'arif al-Quran beautifully. Now, again, back to the verses. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tubtilu sadaqatikum. Abtala yubtilu ibtalan ke maana batil kar dena, nullify kar dena. Do not destroy your sadaqat and charities bil manni wal adha, by reminding and taunting and teasing. Otherwise, you will be like the person who spends his wealth ri'a an nas, to show off to people. Hazrat Mufti Shafi Sahab Rahmatullahi alayhi writes, in this verse, one more condition. This makes it clear that any form of favor flashing or needy bashing after an act of charity renders that charity null and void. There will not be any reward for it. In this verse, one more condition governing the acceptance of sadaqah has been added by saying, the one who spends for public exposure, for name and fame, and does not believe in Allah Almighty and the day of resurrection, can be likened to be acting in a situation where he sows a grain on a clean rock which has collected a layer of soil. Then comes the rain. He thought that over here planting a seed will bring me benefit. However, the rain came and washed away the whole thing clean. Such people will never reap what they had sown, and Allah Almighty will not let disbelievers see the way. From this we know the condition that governs the acceptance of sadaqah khairat is spend only to seek the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the intention of getting thawab reward in the hereafter. Never do it with the intention of having public exposure, name and fame. Spending with such intention of earning name and fame is wasting what you spend. And should a true Muslim who does believe in the hereafter expend something simply for name and fame under hypocritical motivation, he too would not get any thawab reward for it. Moreover, there is a hint here in the use of the additional sentence, La yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, does not believe in Allah, that perhaps it aims to suggest that hypocrisy and namesaking is not just the sort of thing a person who believes in Almighty Allah and the day of resurrection would do, since hypocrisy is a sign of something being wrong with his faith. ये बहुत अच्छी तरह हजरत ने समझाया. अल्लाह पाक मिसाल दे रहे हैं रिया अन्नास राआ युराई मुराआतन, to show, to get name and fame. What is the last ayat of Surah Al-Kahf? فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. आगे وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. Do amal salih and don't associate in that ibadat anyone with Allah. Meaning, don't commit shirk khafi, the small shirk, the minor shirk. One is major shirk, worshipping an idol, and one is minor shirk, worshipping Allah but to show ghayrullah, to show off, to tell people that I am doing this. This is riyakari and this is shirk khafi. And Hadith Sharif says, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Inna akhwafa ma akhafu ala ummati ash-shirk al-asghar. The worst fears I have upon my ummah is of the minor shirk. They said, what is minor shirk, Ya Rasulullah? And he said, Riya. Riya, showing off. On the day of Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to these show-offs, go to those for whom you did that amal and get your reward from them. You did not do it for me, you did it for them. Go, they will give you your sawab. वो क्या सवाब देंगे? खाक सवाब देंगे, वो खुद सवाब के मोहताज होंगे. तो why should you do any sijda, ruku, tilawat, zikr, sadqa, 100 pound, 1000 pound, roza, hajj, umrah, zikr, tilawat, to show people? People are not going to give you sawab. Do it for Allah, because Allah is the one who's going to give you sawab. So this is what the hadith says. On the day of Qiyamah, Allah will say, go to those to whom you showed off your deeds, take your sawab from them. You didn't do it for me, I'm not going to give you any sawab. In another hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah said in hadith Qudsi, Ana aghna shuraka'i ani shirk, man amila amalan ashraka fihi ghayri, taraktuhu wa shirkahu, rawahu Muslim. I am the most free and independent person from shirk. I hate shirk. I don't like shirk. I don't like partnership. Nobody likes partnership. You don't want someone to be partner in your business. And you'll try your best to keep the business your own. You'll only have a partner if it's majboori, there's no other way out. But as soon as that majboori is gone, you say, okay, bhai, we'll separate. You go your way, I go my way. We'll share it out. So nobody likes partnership. So Allah says, why should I like partnership? When I created you, you should worship me. Why should you join someone else in my ibadat? So I am free and I have nothing to do with shirk. And just as in dunya, you shuraka, partners, don't like partnership, I don't like partnership either. So if anyone does an amal in which he joins and connects someone else with me, I will leave him and his partnership and his connecting, and he will be abandoned. Go do your, I have nothing to do with your amal. So this is the meaning of riya. Allah then, كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَالَهُ رِيَاءَ النَّاسِ وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. There's a hint in there that this person who shows off to people, his iman is not proper. His faith is weak. His faith is not strong. If his iman was strong, he would do just for the sake of Allah, not for showing people. Then Allah said, فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah alayhi, Safwan as-Hajarul Amlas, a large rock. Now normally these large rocks are on hilly areas. Some rocks are so massive, they cannot be moved even with a JCB. They've been there since Allah created Adam alayhi salam, or before Adam alayhi salam when he created the dunya. They've not moved from there. So it looks like a large piece of land. And there is lots of soil, dust on there. And the soil looks like, it's a good land. There might be some green grass on there a little bit as well. Now, if a farmer was to plant and sow his seeds on that rock, thinking that this is a nice piece of land, will anything grow on there? No, nothing grows on stones. So there won't be a large tree of apple and orange and mangoes and bananas on that rock. Nothing's going to grow. In fact, if a heavy rain comes, then that heavy rain is going to take the plant away, the seeds away, and everything will be destroyed. Nothing is there. Then it will come out. The reality of that rock will be exposed. That this is what it was. It was not a fertile land, and nothing was going to grow on there. So Allah said, فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ. Safwan, साफ सुथरा क्लीन चट्टान. यहीं से नाम रखते हैं सफवान. एक सहाबी का नाम था सफवान इब्न अस्साल अल मुरादी और सफवान इब्न मुअत्तल अस-सुलमी. तो वहां से नाम रखते हैं. हमारे बेटे का नाम भी वहीं से रखा. और सफा से है, साफ सुथरा होना. तो दिल साफ होने की तरफ भी इशारा है. ताबीईन में भी एक बुजुर्ग गुजरे हैं, उनका नाम भी सफवान इब्न सुलैम अज़-ज़ुहरी. बहुत बुजुर्ग थे, अल्लाह वाले थे, बयान करते थे, लोग अशाश करते थे, रोते थे उनके बयानों में. तो बाज लोग तो उनके बयान में दम भी तोड़ देते थे बेचारे, ऐसे उनके वाज का इतना असर होता था. तो ये सफवान वहां से निकला है. कमसली सफवानिन अलैहि तुराबुन, अपॉन इट देयर इज सॉइल. हाँ, फअसाबहु वाबिलुन फतरकहु सल्दा. वाबिल heavy rain, فتركه صلدا أي أملس يابس لا شيء عليه من التراب بل قد ذهب كله. وكذلك أعمال المرائين تذهب وتضمحل عند الله. أعمال of riyakar, void, they will be finished, wiped out. That amal will have no sawab which you did for riya. You will only get sawab for that amal which you did with ikhlas. Do you remember the story of that sheikh who had given the 2 breads to that yatim bachi, and he saw in the dream his a'mal are brought? I mentioned last week, he's in the scale, and in one scale is his sayyi'at, and one scale himself, and his a'mal are being put one after the other, but the weight, he's not getting any weight. And then that yatim bachi comes, and she puts the 2 rotis, and it comes down, and it's weighty, because those 2 rotis had the weight in them. So weight in a'mal comes with ikhlas. कहते हैं ना, जितनी शुगर डालेंगे इतनी चाय मीठी होगी, हैं? तो इसी तरह से आमाल में जितना इखलास डालेंगे उतना वेट आएगा, और इखलास नहीं होगा तो वेटलेस होगा. You did it for other people, there's no weight in there. अमली का वजन ही नहीं है उसमें, अमल में. बंद कर दो इसको, कोई हरकत नहीं. सर्दी है वैसे भी अय्यूब भाई को. Close the door. So Allah said, Wallahu la yahdil qawm al-kafirin, meaning as long as they are stubborn on their kufr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not guide them. La yaqdiruna ala shay'in mimma kasabu, they have no power over whatever they earned. Similarly, a riyakar will have no power over the sawab of what he had done and committed, because that sawab will be gone. In Quran, Allah said, وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. We will move towards their a'mal, and we will make them like the particles which are scattered in the air, which you can see in the rays of the sun coming in from the window. They are particles, you can see them. शुआएं आए तो उसमें वो जर्रात उड़ते हुए नजर आते हैं. उस जर्रा का कोई वजन नहीं है, आप पकड़ने जाएंगे तो वो जर्रा इधर से उधर उड़ जाएगा, क्योंकि उसका कोई वेट नहीं है. तो अमाल जो हैं इसका भी ऐसे ही हाल हो जाएगा. काफिर का अमल कोई वजन नहीं उसमें, क्योंकि वजन उसमें आता है ईमान से, इखलास से. काफिर का अमल ईमान न होने की वजह से बेहैसियत है. हजरत शाह इस्माइल शहीद रहमतुल्लाह अलैह की तक़वियतुल ईमान हमने पढ़ी, उसमें शाह इस्माइल शहीद रहमतुल्लाह अलैह लिखते हैं, अमाल में रूह जो होती है वो रूह ईमान से आती है, इखलास से आती है. अगर रूह ना हो तो अमल बेकार है. जैसे एक है, आप देख रहे हैं बाहर फील्ड में, वेरी नाइस ब्यूटीफुल हॉर्स रनिंग अराउंड जंपिंग, you want to ride on it, you put the lagam rein on it and ride, and swift it will run with you He will speed and take you from A to B. But you go in Bolton Town Center and in the Newport Street area, there are horses made from stone and made from wood. Now kids play around that horse, but that horse has no life in it. So it's lifeless. It's useless. You can't ride on it. It can take you from A to B, from here to there, because there's no ruh in it. So similarly, a mu'min's amal has that ruh in it, and that is why that amal becomes weighty. A kafir, he might do amal, he might give charity, he might do sijda, he might do ruku, he might do ibadat, he might even worship, he might feel good in going to his ibadat place, but it has no soul in it, no ruh in it. So it's not mu'tabar in Allah. It has no weight in the eyes of Allah, because he's doing it according to his own understanding, not according to how Allah wants him to do it. So the ruh and the soul is not there. That's why it's ghair mu'tabar. So similarly, this is what happens when you do some good deed with riyakari, dikhawa, you take the soul out of it. The ruh of it is gone, and that's why the amal becomes bekar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do not destroy your a'mal by mannu aza, reminding, taunting, teasing that poor person. Otherwise, your sawab will go away just as exactly in the same manner as the sawab of a show off goes away, fades away, is destroyed. Your sawab of your action and your amal will be destroyed as well. Meaning this amal which you did for riyakari, not every amal, like Mu'tazila said. Anyway, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to the next verse, saying, وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. And the example of those who spend their wealth to seek the pleasure of Allah and to make firm themselves, their souls. كمثل جنة بربوة أصابها وابل فآتت أكلها ضعفين, is like a garden on a hilltop on which there came a heavy rain and it produced its fruits in two folds. فإن لم يصبها وابل فطل, even if there comes no heavy rain, then a drizzle would be sufficient. Wallahu bima ta'maluna basir, and Allah is watchful of whatever you do. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah alayhi writes in his tafsir that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned those who will have no share, no portion of their sadaqat, khairat, Allah is going on to mention those whose sadaqat are pure, clean, with good niyat, and their sadaqat and khairat are given according to the instructions and requirements of Sharia and the guidance of Sharia, and how they will reap the rewards and get full sawab for it. Allah said, وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ, seeking the pleasure of Allah. Every act should be done solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want Allah to be happy with me. You know, like a child wants his mom and dad to be happy, so he tries his best to make them happy. Comes back from school and brings, some nice work which they had done. Abba, look at this, Abba, look at this, I did this, and Abba gets happy. And similarly, you work from college or uni, you passed your exams, you rush to make your dad happy. So you do things to make your parents happy. Allah is saying, Allah is your creator, He is your sustainer, He is your Khaliq, Malik. You should do everything to please Allah, to make Him happy. This is ibtigha'a mardatillah. One condition. Not for showing off, not for name, not for fame, but for rida and pleasure of Allah. And tathbitan min anfusihim, and strengthening and keeping steadfast themselves. What does this mean? Number one, it means al-infaq fi sabilillah wa tasdeeqan li thawabihi. You have to confirm and do tasdeeq of thawab. So tathmeet over here means tasdeeq. From thabbata yuthabbitu tathmeetan, to keep your feet firm. Like Allahumma thabbitni ala al-iman wa amitni ala al-iman. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qulubana ala dini. Keep our feet firm and strong. So tathbitan min anfusihim, they keep their iman strong, their belief strong. They do things for the pleasure of Allah with strong belief and strong iman is the meaning of tathbitan min anfusihim. Ibn Kathir rahmatullah alayhi says, this means imanan wa ihtisaban. With iman and ihtisab. Iman, firm belief. Ihtisab, hoping for reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning ikhlas. This is like in the hadith of Siyam. Man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi. Whoever fasts in the month of Ramadan with iman and ihtisab, all his past sins will be forgiven. So iman and ihtisab there, over here tathbitan min anfusihim, both similar meaning. You should have strong iman and you should have hope of reward from Allah with ikhlas. Number 3, some say يَتَثَبَّتُونَ فِي الْمَوْضِعِ الَّذِي يَدَعُونَ فِيهِ الصَّدَقَةِ. This is narrated by Qurtubi from Mujahid and Hassan Basri, that when they are spending, they do tathabbut, meaning they check properly where they are spending. They are not careless and casual in their spending. Sometimes you don't check properly, you give here and there. बहुत से लोग चेक नहीं करते और बाहर से लोग आते हैं, झूठ बोलते हैं, बहरूपिये और 2 नंबर का माल और पैसे लेके चले जाते हैं. बाज लोग तो इनके चक्कर में आ जाते हैं तो हजारों पाउंड दे देते हैं. हाँ, ऐसे भी होते हैं, 30,000 40,000 पाउंड दे दिया, फिर पता चला कि वो तो फ्रॉडी रखा गया सारा पैसा. So, وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, Mujahid and Hassan Basri say it means that they should do tathabbut and check properly before spending. However, Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah said that this meaning does not seem appropriate because the word is not tathabbut, it's tathbeet. And sabbata yuthabbitu tathbeetan means to keep firm. Tathabbut means to check. So he said this is not right. Number 4, Imam Ibn Kathir rahmatullah narrates, Khazin narrates that كان الرجل إذا هم بصدقة تثبت فإن كانت لله خالصة أمضاها وإن خالطه شك ورياء أمسكه. When among the Salaf Salihin they wanted to give any charity, they would check their intention first. If the intention was khalis liwajhillah, they would give out that sadaqah. But if there was some show off or doubt of show off, then they would stop. Now give it. My niyyat is not correct here. This is tathbeetun nafs. Check your own nafs. Why am I giving this sadaqah? Am I giving it for Allah? Okay. If you're not, then forget it. Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Tankarvi Sahab, Shaykhul Hadith of Falahidarain Tarkesar, asked Hazrat Shaykh Yunus Sahab, Damar Barak Rahmatullahi alayhi, Nawarallahu Munaqadahu, Hazrat, ye ikhlas apne andar kaise paida kare? How can I bring ikhlas in myself? And Hazrat said, हमेशा अपनी नीयत को मुत्तहम समझो. Always be suspicious about your niyyat. Check karo, what's my niyyat? Be suspicious. Am I doing this for Allah? Or is it just to show someone? Oh, nah, I think I'm wrong. My niyyat is not correct. When you do that a few times, you are suspicious of your niyyat. You train yourself. Sometimes when you feel that, yes, there is ikhlas in there, you do it. Other times you feel that there's some riyakari show off in there, and I'm not doing it. So, धीरे धीरे फिर तुम्हारी नीयत में खुलूस आ जाएगा. Then you learn to have इखलास in your नीयत. एक और बात भी याद आ गई. Hazrat Haji Imdadullah Muhajir Makki Rahmatullah alayhi was asked, Hazrat, you know, we get this riyakari in our amal. Should we leave the amal? And Hazrat Haji Sahab said, no. Don't leave the amal. Leave the riya. What did he say? Don't leave the amal. Leave the riya. And then Hazrat explained what Sufiya Kiram have said. Sufiya Kiram say, to do an amal for riya is bad. But to leave and abandon an amal for fear of riya is even worse. Do you hear it? Because in the first case, you might have doubt of riya, but you're still doing that amal. If you keep doing it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, repeatedly, then slowly, ikhlas itself will come. But don't leave the amal. If you feel that, oh, people are seeing me, it's Ramzan time. If I sit here, pray Quran, people will see me praying Quran. So that will be show off. So I'm not going to pray. So you left that tilawat because of risk of riya. So that's, Hazrat said to read the Quran to show off is bad. But to leave reading the Quran for fear of riya is even worse. Because in the first case, at least you're reading the Quran. If you keep reading every day, then first day, second day, third day, fourth, fifth day, after 10, 15 days, the ikhlas will come itself. Just keep reading it. If that was to happen, then riya comes to us a lot. When we stand on that musalla, we लोग कहेंगे मौलाना अब्दुल रहीम साहब बहुत कुरान पढ़े, तो फिर हम छोड़ दें नमाज पढ़ाना कि कोई किसी और को पढ़ाओ, सो मेरे अंदर रियाकारी है, तुम किसी और को कह दो, वो तो हर शख्स में आएगी रिया। तो वो क्या करेंगे, जब ऐसे शैतान ऐसे ख्याल जाए ला हौल वला कुव्वता इल्ला बिल्लाह, जानी यहाँ से, लोग तो यहाँ से दरवाजे से निकल के भूल जाएंगे, अल्लाह नहीं भूलेंगे। अल्लाह सुन रहे हैं, मैं तो अल्लाह को सुनाने के लिए पढ़ता हूँ, मखलूक को सुनाने के लिए नहीं। मैं ऐसा सोचता हूँ कि आई एम द ओनली वन इन दिस रूम, देयर इज नोबडी हियर, आई एम रीडिंग एंड अल्लाह इज लिसनिंग, पीछे कोई है ही नहीं, मैं अकेला पढ़ रहा हूँ। ये तसव्वुर करो, इसी इखलास आ जाएगा। और पढ़ो तजवीद से, अच्छे लहजे से पढ़ो, रीड नाइसली विद नाइस ट्यून एंड विद नाइस तजवीद, अल्फाज बराबर अदा करो अच्छी तरह से, ताकि अल्लाह पाक खुश हो। तो ये रिया जो है, इसको कहा तस्मीतन मिन अनफुसिहिम इब्तिगा व मसलुल लज़ीना युनफिकून अमवालहुम इब्तिगा मरज़ातिल्लाह, नंबर 1 to seek pleasure of Allah, and wa tathbitan min anfusihim, checking the intention and keeping the niyyat firm and strong of seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kamathali jannatin bi rabwatin is like a garden on a hilly area, on a hilltop. Now, Qurtubi rahmatullah alayhi said, Rabwa means al-makanul murtafi' min al-ard. It doesn't mean highland like mountain, Himalaya part. No, it means a high land. One is a valley and another is a little bit of highland. Normally, rich people make their homes on a little bit of highland because there is greenery there as well, and the earth might be soft as well and fertile as well. Now, in the Arabian lands, that's what used to happen. They used to try to look for a nice spot on a little bit of hill where there's trees surrounding it. They wouldn't go for the valley, because in valleys, perhaps there might be heavy rainfalls would bring floods and things like this. So nice houses would be kept on a little bit of hilly area. Now, on those hills, there's no rivers flowing. They depend on rain. So when rain comes, time to time, that's when vegetation grows. So Allah is saying, Kamasali jannatin birabwatin, like a bagh. Jannah means bagh, bustan. Jannah is called Jannah. Only that bagh and garden orchard is called Jannah, which has thick trees around it. Right? Because the word jim noon means chupana, to cover. जिन को जिन क्यों कहते हैं, हमारी आंख से छुपे हुए हैं, हो गया ना। और ये जनीन, ये माँ के पेट में जो बच्चा होता है उसको जनीन कहते हैं, क्योंकि वो आंख से छुपा हुआ है। और जुनून इसलिए कि उसके दिमाग के ऊपर पर्दा छा जाता है, इसलिए उसको जुनून, और उस आदमी को मजनून और मैड और इंसेन कहते हैं। तो जीम नून वर्ड जहां होता है उसके अंदर कवरिंग, टू कवर, छुपाना होता है। तो जन्नत ऐसा बाग जिसमें बहुत दरख्त हो और वो छुपा हुआ हो, जैसे अमेज़न फॉरेस्ट है, तो ऊपर से कुछ नजर ही नहीं आता, दरख्त ही दरख्त नजर आते हैं, हेलीकॉप्टर वालों को भी कुछ दिखाई नहीं देता। तो ऐसे द थिक बाग इज कॉल्ड जन्नत। सो कमसली जन्नतिन बिरबवतिन, a bagh, a garden on a hilltop, asabaha wabilun, and heavy rain fell over it, فآتت أكلها ضعفين, and it gave its fruit in two folds. पैदावार, पाक, harvest came in two folds. वो दरख्त थे, बड़े बड़े आम के दरख्त थे, और ब्यूटीफुल मैंगोज हुए, और डबल प्रोड्यूस आया उसका. अब उधर तो उसने कहा बीज बोया था चट्टान पर, रॉक, तो रॉक पर कुछ नहीं होगा. Heavy rain came and destroyed everything. Everything went away with the rain. And over here, heavy rain came, and the earth is fertile, the garden is beautiful, and the trees are beautiful. So lots of produce and fruit. Not it was not in one fold; it was in two folds. हर साल जितना फ्रूट होता है उससे डबल फ्रूट हुआ. फरमाया जो इब्तिगा मरदातिल्लाह व तस्बीतन मिन अनफुसिहिम, for the pleasure of Allah and keeping their ruh and their intentions firm and ikhlas they spend, then that is like they are reaping the rewards in two folds. Double sawab mila unko. And Allah said, even if فَإِن لَمْ يُصِبْهَا وَابِلٌ فَطَلٌّ, such bags on a hilly area of fertile land are so fertile that even if heavy rain did not fall, light drizzle would also suffice. Little bit of rain would also bring lots of produce. So, similarly, a mu'min who is mukhlis, sincere, his amal does not go to vain. Allah accepts it, and Allah increases it, and Allah multiplies it, and Allah gives lots and lots and lots of fruit and sawab in the form of Jannat, in Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah. This is Wallah, Wallahu. Then Allah said, Wallahu bima ta'maluna basir. Allah is watching whatever you do. And whatever you are doing is in front of Allah's eyes. Nothing is ghaib and absent from the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All your a'mal are right before His eyes. He's seeing everything. Then after explaining this beautiful, example and the, way and merits of spending with ikhlas in the path of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminds of those who spend with bad intention, how their sadaqat go to waste, and what will happen when they get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah, and their sawab will be gone, and they will have no power over any sawab of what they had spent. Allah said, look for an example. أَيَوَدُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن تَكُونَ لَهُ جَنَّةٌ مِّن نَخِيلٍ وَأَعْنَابٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ لَهُ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ الثَّمَرَاتِ. Would any of you wish to have a garden of dates and grapes with rivers flowing beneath it, and for him in there are all kinds of fruit? وَأَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ وَلَهُ ذُرِّيَّةٌ ضُعَفَاءُ, and old age has also befallen him, and he has children who are weak. فَأَصَابَهَا إِعْصَارٌ فِيهِ نَارٌ فَاحْتَرَقَتْ. Then there came upon it a whirlwind with fire in it, so the whole orchard and bagh was burnt out and destroyed. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. This is how Allah makes the signs clear to you so that you may ponder. Allah is saying, would you like this to happen to you? أَن تَكُونَ لَهُ جَنَّةٌ مِّن نَخِيلٍ وَأَعْنَابٍ. You have a garden beneath which rivers are flowing. تجري من تحتها الأنهار له فيها من كل الثمرات. Garden of khajur and angur, dates and grapes. These are the gardens which Arabs had in those times in Medina Sharif, in Taif. Makkah Mukarramah was not fertile land. यहाँ पर fruits नहीं grow होते थे. Mountains हैं मक्का मुकर्रमा में. Fruits used to come from outside, from Taif and Medina Munawwara and elsewhere. So let's say a rich man has a beautiful house, mansion, garden, and in those gardens there are trees of khajur, large trees giving lots of khajur. and grapes, vineyard. And there are other fruits of all types in there: apples, oranges, bananas, and other fruits. وَأَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ, and he is also struck by old age. I mean, old age, you need money. You need more money in your old age, because will have children, grandchildren. You need to buy gifts for them. When you go in safar, you need to bring something for them, keep everyone happy. So in your old age, you need more money. This is why in hadith there is dua, Allahumma ja'al awsa'a rizqika alayya inda kibari sinni wa inqita'i umri. Oh Allah, give me the most expanded rizq when I get into my old age and my life is now cutting off. So Hazrat Ji Maulana Inamul Hasan Sahab Rahmatullah used to say, I used to think, oh, this hadith, why did Huzur say, I want more wealth in old age and not young? When you're young, you chill out and you go around holidaying and everywhere. But then when I got old and I had so many children and grandchildren, and they would all expect from me, that's when I realized, oh, this is why. कि भाई इनको भी हदिया भी देना है, बच्चे आते हैं, इसको भी दो, उसको भी दो, छोटे बच्चों को 1 पाउंड दे दें, 5 पाउंड दे दें, गिफ्ट दे दें, खुश हो जाते हैं, कुछ ला करके दे दें इनको. मैं भी अपने बच्चों को देता ही रहता हूँ ताकि वो बच्चे खुश रहें. मर जाऊंगा तो याद तो करेंगे कि नाना पैसे देते थे, दादा पैसे देते थे. पाउंड पाउंड में हमारा क्या जाता है, बच्चे खुश रहेंगे. तो उसके लिए तो जेब में पाउंड होना भी चाहिए ना पहले से. तो इसलिए फरमाया कि बड़ी उम्र में you need money. Now this person was rich. He had lots of wealth and property and bagh and lots of fruit. But then what happened? وَأَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ وَلَهُ ذُرِّيَّةٌ ضُعَفَاءٌ فَأَصَابَهَا إِعْصَارٌ. Suddenly, when the fruits were ready, ripe, ready to pick, a whirlwind came, tornado came. And in that whirlwind, and आग का बगोला, it just goes round, whirlwind, and it just plucks everything up, और यहाँ से उठा के वहां फेंक देता है. कहाँ गिरा कहाँ गया को पता ही नहीं चल रहा. और पूरा बाग, it was covered by the whirlwind and tornado, and everything, all the fruits were gone, all the trees were uprooted. The खजूर के दरख्त भी उखाड़ के फेंक दिए, और वो अंगूर का बाग जो है, grapes vineyard, it was all gone as well. All the other fruit trees, apple tree, orange tree, banana tree, whatever, everything is gone, destroyed. Because there was not just a whirlwind, there was also fire in there. Sometimes it's fiery, it has fire, like Californian fires, wildfires. वो आते हैं तो पूरा destroy कर देते हैं. So if this happens, and what's going to happen to him, imagine how he's going to feel at that time. Everything is gone. Allah said, فاحترقت, and everything was burnt out. كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. Ibn Kathir narrates here, and Qurtubi also narrates here. Sayyiduna Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu once asked people, "Oh people, what is the meaning of this ayat?" And they said, Allahu alam, Allah knows best. Hazrat Umar got angry. He said, "Why are you saying Allahu alam? If you know it, then say it. If you don't say it, then don't say I don't know it. قولوا نعلم أو لا نعلم." So Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu raised his finger and he said, "Fi nafsi minha shay'un ya Amir al-Mu'minin." Something is coming into my mind, O Amir al-Mu'minin. And Hazrat Umar said, "Ya ibn akhi, qul, ولا تحقر نفسك." Dear nephew, say what you got in your mind. Don't belittle yourself. Because Ibn Abbas was the youngest, only 15, 17 years old at the time. And there are other elders sitting there. So don't think yourself as low. Say what comes in your mind. And Ibn Abbas said, ضُرِبَتْ مَثَلًا لِعَمَلٍ. It's an example for an amal, for an act. قال عمر أي عمل? Which act? قال ابن عباس لعمل رجل غني يعمل بطاعة الله ثم بعث الله عز وجل له الشيطان فعمل في المعاصي حتى أحرق عمله. وفي رواية فإذا فني عمره واقترب أجله ختم ذلك بأعمال من أعمال الشقاء فرضي عمر. This is an example mentioned by Allah for a person who was doing good amal, good deeds. But then Allah sent over him shaitan. Shaitan came to him and he went into ma'asi, sinning, disobedience, and he went so deep into sinning that he burnt out the other a'mal as well. Just as that bar was burnt by that whirlwind and tornado, the tornado and whirlwind of sins and ma'asi and disobediences, that life of lavish lifestyle of drugs and booze and zina and bad deeds, it came and struck him in such a heavy way that it burnt out his amal and his life was rotten and everything was gone. He destroyed everything with his own hands. So this is an example for such people. Ibn Abi Mulaika narrated, as Umar read this ayat and said, هذا مثل ضرب للإنسان يعمل عملا صالحا حتى إذا كان عند آخر عمره أحوج ما يكون إليه عمل عمل السوء. Ibn Atiyah said, فهذا نظر يحمل الآية على كل ما يدخل تحت ألفاظها. قال مجاهد وقتادة والربيع وغيرهم بنحو ذلك. This is the meaning of this. And you will see some cases, not all the time, sometimes it happens that a person was, relatively okay, praying here and there as well. But towards the end of his life, he took a reverse turn. This is in the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud. والله إن أحدكم ليعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار فيدخلها. This is like, the stories we read about Barsisa Rahib. Last में उसने काम खराब कर दिया. Barsisa Rahib was a Rahib monk and he used to worship. लेकिन sometimes worship में रिया होती है. शैतान ने भी तो बहुत इबादत की थी ना, लेकिन वो internally he was not clean person. There was just show off and maqsad and motive behind that ibadat. So Barsisa Rahib, perhaps his ibadat has something of this type of bad motive or intention in there. Now, some brothers were going on a journey and they had one sister and they could not trust anyone to look after her. So they thought that Barsisa Rahib is there, we'll tell him to look after our sister. He's a pious person. So they went to him. He said, no, tell someone else. No, please. All you have to do is just take care of her. She's close by. He said, all right. So he would cook food for himself and he would go and leave it, outside for her. She would take it and eat it. Few days later, Shaitan came to him and said, yeah, this is bad manners, man. You leave the food outside. You should knock, give the food inside. So he started knocking, giving the food inside. And said, she's been here so many days and you don't even inquire about her. So he kept going inside and then inquiring. And then Shaitan put in front of him her beauty. And then Shaitan said, you should at least embrace her, hug her, kiss her. And he started doing that. And finally he fornicated, zina. Now, he kept on with that relationship, friendship, enjoying his life. The brothers are still on their long journey, not coming. Now, after a few days, her period stopped and it came to light that she's pregnant. Now, Barsisa got scared. If the brothers come and they find out and the girl says that, I impregnated her, I'm gone. So Shaitan came to him, I'll tell you something. Kill her and bury her. When the brothers come, then tell them that she fell ill and, this is her grave, I buried her. So he did that. He just somehow strangled her, finished her off, and then secretly dragged her to some place, dug a grave, and buried her. When the brothers came, he said, I looked after your sister as best as I could. But taqdeer, qaza wa qadar, she fell ill, she had some virus, this, that, and she died, and this is her qabr. So the brothers said, okay, things happen. They went to the qabr and paid their respect. Then at night, Shaitan came in their dreams. And each one's dream and said, you know that Barsisa Raib, he's lying to you. You know, your sister didn't die. You know, he killed her. You open the grave and you check her body out, you'll find signs in there of, you know, क्या कहते हैं, maltreatment. So, once morning they woke up, one says, I saw this dream. Another says, I saw that dream as well. I saw that dream as well. So everybody said, yeah, this must be a true dream. They checked it out and they realized that yes, and they caught hold of Barsisa Rahib. They beat him up and he admitted his crime. So they took him to the Qazi judge and they said, you have to carry out qisas on him because he killed our sister. He admitted, yes, I did it. So when he was taken to the gallows and that noose was put around his neck, Iblis came to him and he said, look, nobody can save you now, but I can save you. But one condition, you have to do sajda to me. He said, I can't do sajda to you. He said, just bow your head towards me and I'll take that as sajda and I'll save you. So Barsisa, he bowed his head as sajda and the Jalad pulled the nose and he died. So he did good deeds for some time, but then towards the end of the life, last few months or a year of his life, he spent in bad deeds. This is what happens. And there are reasons why these things happen. Just ponder over shaitan. What happened to shaitan, right? So this shaitanat, as shaitan was extradited from Jannat, kicked out, because his takabbur and his hasad and jealousy came out when he was told to do something which was going against his nafs. And that was sajda to Adam alayhi salam. They used to accept Allah's order and obey Allah's command. And that's what angered Allah. And that's what drove him out of Jannah. So this is what happens to some people. And this is why we should be very, very fearful of Su'e Khatima. कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि अल्लाह मेरे किसी अमल पर नाराज हो जाए और मेरा बुरा खात्मा ना हो जाए. And this is why our mashayikh, you know, they were very, very careful in this regard. Hazrat Sheikh Zakaria Rahmatullah alayh, you know, when he was coming here and Hazrat was writing some posters about his arrival, Hazrat Sheikh said, bhai, ye sab mat karo, I don't like this. And he said, let me die first. If I die with Iman, then you can write about me whatever you like. But as long as I'm alive, please don't write these things. Have you not read the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud? Innal hayya la tu'manu alayhi al-fitna. A living person is never safe from fitnas. As long as a person is alive, he's always at risk of fitna. Anything could happen. Hazrat Sheikh, who taught hadith for 50 years. And he's saying, let me go from here with Iman, then you can do whatever you want. But at this moment, don't write anything in my praise. I don't like it. So, this is the example which Allah is mentioning over here. Would you want this to happen to you? You have a nice bar with lots of date trees and vineyard and grapes and all types of fruits, and suddenly a whirlwind comes and destroys it. Allah said nobody would want to do that, especially in your old age when you have children who are dependent on you, and especially the trees which were planted after a huge effort by your fathers or grandfathers, and they had been giving that fruit for many years. Now everything is destroyed. You are old. You can't replant those trees. You haven't got the strength. Your feet are in the qabr. And your children are small. They can't do that either. So you can't go, do that bagh and orchard. You can't bring it back to its previous state. Everything is destroyed. Similarly, such a person, when he goes to akhirat, he will want to come back in this dunya to do some good deeds, but he won't be able to redo it. He won't be able to do that again. Whatever you want to do it over here with ikhlas. What was said above, ibtigha amardatillah wa tathbitan min anfusihim. Do everything sincerely for the sake of Allah, not for personal gains and motives and desires and riya and name and fame and show off. Let go of all that. This is the lesson in this. Hazrat writes over here, summarizing this whole verse, it could be said that ikhlas or sincerity is one big condition governing the acceptance of sadaqah and khairat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This sincerity means that one should spend exclusively for the good pleasure of Allah Almighty without any admixture of self-promoting ends. Now look at all these verses in the whole section, whole ruku once again. We shall discover there are six conditions governing the acceptance in the sight of Allah of spending in His path, sadaqah khairah. These are: number one, spend from halal belongings. 2. Spend according to the prescribed practice, meaning sunnah. 3. Spend in the proper place. 4. Do not remind of favors after having done it. 5. Do nothing to insult the receiver. 6. Spend with sincerity of intention exclusively for the good pleasure of Allah Almighty, never doing it for the sake of name and fame. The second condition, that is spending according to sunnah, means that one should be careful while spending in the path of Allah, that rights due to someone may not be usurped. Meaning, you give in sadaqah, whereas you have violated the rights of others. You are owed qarz to other people. You should pay that qarz off first. You've taken property of someone, you've taken miras of your sisters, and now you're giving sadaqah. That is again sunnah. Sunnah is you fulfill your duties and pay off your debts first, and then you do the sadaqah. So this is the meaning of according to sunnah, that you should be careful while spending in the path of Allah, that rights due to someone may not be usurped. This is no act of thawab and reward, that one indulges in sadaqah khairat by stopping or limiting the necessary expenses on his family without their assent, depriving the needy inheritors and bequeathing the whole inheritance, or giving out everything in sadaqah and khairat, is against the teaching of sunnah. Then there are 1,000 forms of spending in the path of Allah. The sunnah method requires that the place to spend must be selected carefully, giving thought to involve factors of importance, need, urgency, etc. Usually, people who spend do not bring these into consideration. The essence of the third condition is that spending at a place or in a cause, even with even good intention, is not good enough. This will not suffice to make it an act of thawab. It is also necessary that the place or cause of spending should be permissible and commendable in the sight of Sharia. If a person was to bequeath his property for impermissible games and amusements, he would be deserving of azab and punishment rather than thawab and reward. This holds good for all other possible avenues of investments which are not desirable in the views of the Sharia. Investments, लोग invest करते हैं ना, तो जो investment शरीयत ने जायज नहीं रखे हैं, हराम investments हैं, अगर वो किए और उसके पैसों से भी सदका खैरात सवाब करेंगे, उसका कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. अपने इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को, अपने इनकम को सही करो, उसके बाद सदका खैरात करो, तो सवाब मिलेगा. बस जो पढ़ा है उसका हम जल्दी से तर्जमा कर लेते हैं और उसके बाद दुआ कर लेंगे. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू ला तुब्तिलू सदक़ातिकुम बिलमन्नि वल अज़ा. O you who believe, do not nullify your charities by boasting about the favor and by teasing the receiver. كالذي ينفق ماله رئاء الناس ولا يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. Like the one who spends his wealth to show off to people and does not believe in Allah and in the last day. فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ عَلَيْهِ تُرَابٌ فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا. So his example is like a rock on which there is dust and soil. Then came over it a heavy rain and left it barren. لَا يَقْدِرُونَ عَلَى شَيْءٍ مِّمَّا كَسَبُوا. They have no ability and power to gain anything out of what they had done and planted on those on that rock. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-kafirin. And Allah does not give guidance to the people who disbelieve. وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. and the example of those who spend their wealth to seek the pleasure of Allah and to make firm their souls, meaning their intentions, and strengthen their souls. كمثل جنة بربوة أصابها وابل فآتت أكلها ضعفين, is like a garden on a hill on which there came a heavy rain, and it yielded its produce in twofolds. فإن لم يصبها وابل فطل, even if there comes no heavy rain, then a drizzle would suffice. والله بما تعملون بصير, and Allah is watchful of what you do. أيود أحدكم أن تكون له جنة من نخيل وأعناب تجري من تحتها الأنهار. Would any of you wish to have a garden of dates and grapes with rivers flowing beneath it? وله فيها من كل الثمرات, and for him in there are all kinds of fruit. وأصابه الكبر وله ذرية ضعفاء, and old age has also befallen him, and he has children who are weak. فأصابها إعصار فيه نار فاحترقت, then there comes upon it a whirlwind tornado with fire in it, and it is all burnt out. كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. In this way, Allah makes the signs clear to you so that you may ponder. Alhamdulillah, verse number 266 has come to a close. We will read next week, inshallah, from 267. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التفسير والتأويل. اللهم علمنا من القرآن ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا الجنة بشفاعة القرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا ونور صدورنا وجلاء أحزاننا وذهاب همومنا وغمومنا وكروبنا يا رب العالمين یا ارحم الراحمین. معاذ اپنے فضل و کرم سے ہم سب کی مغفرت فرما دیجئے. ہمارے یہاں اٹھنا بیٹھنا کہنا سننا پڑھنا پڑھانا قبول فرمائیے. قرآن پاک کی فہم اور سمجھ عطا فرمائیے. قرآن پاک کو پڑھنے سمجھنے سمجھانے اس پر عمل کرنے اس کی نشر و اشاعت کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. یا اللہ قرآن پاک کے میسج کو دوسروں تک پہنچانے میں ہماری مدد فرمائیے. ہمارا ذہن کھول دیجئے. پروردگار عالم جن مفسرین کی تفاسیر سے ہم استفادہ کرتے ہیں ان سب کو جزائے خیر عطا فرمائیے. سب کی قبروں پر اپنی خاص رحمتوں کی بارشیں برسائیے. علامہ ابن کثیر، علامہ قرطبی، علامہ خازن، علامہ نصفی، حضرت مولانا ادریس کاندلوی، حضرت مولانا مفتی شفیع صاحب اور اسی طرح حضرت مولانا عبد المجید دریابادی صاحب. اللہ تمام مفسرین کی قبروں پر اور جتنے بھی مفسرین ہیں جنہوں نے قرآن پر محنتیں کی سب کو ان کی محنتوں کا بہترین بدلہ عطا فرمائیے. جزائے خیر عطا فرمائیے. ان کی قبروں پر اپنی خاص رحمتوں کی بارشیں برسائیے. درجات بلند فرمائیے. ہمارے اساتذہ کرام جن سے ہم نے ترجمہ قرآن پڑھا، تفسیر پڑھی، فقہ پڑھا، حدیث پڑھی، یا اللہ جنہوں نے ہمیں یہاں بیٹھنے کے قابل بنایا، یا اللہ ان سب کی قبروں پر بھی اپنی رحمتیں نازل فرمائیے. سب کے درجات بلند فرمائیے. سب کو ہماری طرف سے جزائے خیر عطا فرمائیے. ہمارے یہ دوست احباب جو بڑی محبت سے درس قرآن میں بیٹھتے ہیں، یا اللہ ان کا بیٹھنا بھی قبول فرمائیے اور اللہ ان کو بھی جزائے خیر عطا فرمائیے. اور یا اللہ اسی طرح گھروں پر جو سنتے ہیں، انٹرنیٹ پر جو سنتے ہیں، ان سب کو بھی جزائے خیر عطا فرمائیے اور سب کو علم نافع، عمل صالح، رزق واسع عطا فرمائیے، صدقہ خیرات للہ کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے، اخلاص نیت عطا فرمائیے، تثبیت نفس عطا فرمائیے، ابتغاء مرضات اللہ نصیب فرمائیے، ریاکاری، شو آف، نام اور نمود اور دکھاوا اور شہرت جوئی سے ہم سب کی حفاظت فرمائیے اللہ، شیطان کے اثرات سے بچائیے، نفسانیت سے بچائیے، ہماری ٹوٹی پھوٹی دعائیں قبول فرمائیے۔ ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم وتب علینا انک انت التواب الرحیم وصلی اللہم وسلم علی سیدنا محمد وآلہ وصحبہ اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین۔